Hello, and I'm so glad to be here. Congratulations on the birthday, Remigius, and you have a wonderful city. I had goosebumps watching the your slides from the transformation of Vilnius. I'm proud of Reykjavik, and I'm very proud of being the mayor there. It's for maybe no good reason. I accidentally entered politics. My background is really in medicine. 20 years ago, I was going to study infectious diseases, human rights, and pandemics, and was hijacked into politics. Little did I know. But what I want to give you from Reykjavik is an example of almost medicine in politics, at least evidence-based approach to policy to gain results. We can call it the Icelandic model or the Reykjavik model. Just to start with some facts. So this is Iceland up there, and as has been said, the vast amount of people in Iceland live in the Reykjavik region. 1/3 in Reykjavik proper, but up to 80% now actually within easy commuting distance to work. But I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about actually my youth or my generation's youth. This is a typical summer night in Iceland, and this is a picture from 1997. It's bright, yes, because the nights during summer are bright. And you can't see me there. Maybe I was in some alley helping a 15-year-old friend puking. Because the fact is that during my childhood, Reykjavik had the highest number of youth drinking, smoking, and use of drugs in Europe. In 20 years, this turned, so now we have the lowest numbers in Europe in youth drinking, use of drugs, and smoking. How? This was a formidable task. You can almost see it by the look of me and my friends growing up in Árbær. I'm the first mayor that grew up in a suburb. And I mean, people needed to have 3 jobs to build their houses, and a lot was going on. Children actually started working during summers around the age of 14 and had some income. And some of the time, at least, this went to buy the first liquor or something else. But the society grew frustrated about this, and it had been frustrated for some times, and we had campaigns where we took old rock stars that had been doing drugs and sent them to the classes to tell the kids that drugs were not good for them. We later found out they already knew that, and this was not working. There are actually scientific studies showing that sending a rock star in talking about his former habits is an advertising for drugs, not scaring someone from it. So there was a public craving for new solutions and policies. And what was needed? Women in politics. The best solution to get something done, especially when it comes to important stuff like children, is to give women power. My idol in politics is Ingibjörg Sólrún Gísladóttir. She was a mayor for almost 9 years and got me into politics, from medicine though. And her political advisor and spear champion led this, and they were laughed about. They were a laughing stock of all of society because they said we should set a long-time target to get children totally rid of drugs. This was around 1998, and we had some good news. Icelandic researchers had been systematically collecting data from youth for years, actually for decades. And they had been modeling what could or might be effective from sociological theory and behavioral theory. So what data is this? It's a data of what the kids do, how they feel, what factors affect them. It's a long list of questionnaires that are spread out through schools and collected anonymously. The theory was that there were factors like time spent with parents, if you were participating in sports or leisure activity, and what was going on with your peer group that were the strongest factor in your environment, not your attitude or who you were. And the idea was, by affecting these things, instead of saying drugs are bad for you, we could change that behavior on a large scale. Sounds very much in the cloud, doesn't it? But these research were used not only for academic purposes, but we created a discussion into every school with parent organizations, etc., to make a new model of prevention, a primary prevention model, not focusing just on kids that were already doing something, but trying to affect attitudes. So we thought of this as evidence-based because it was based on social theory, but it hadn't been proved yet. We believed that it was very important to have an effective strategy in communicating and, of course, support young people at risk, but we went from talking about drugs in these campaigns to talk to the parents about spending time with their kids. Not quality time. You don't need Shakespeare. You just need to be with your kids. Make a connection. And we encouraged and supported sports clubs, art schools, etc. to do extracurricular things. The national government did some things as well regarding advertising or the ban of advertising alcohol and tobacco and hiding it a bit. And actually, we made guidelines for how long kids can stay outside. So 4 in the night is not okay for a 14-year-old like I did myself, and other guidelines like this. And this had consequences. Both we had young kids flocking into sports and taking more part than ever before, but what mattered most was that from 1998, and you remember that we were going up in these figures, we started dropping in drinking, smoking, use of drugs. And the surprising thing is that this has continued all the way to this day. So we are still monitoring it. We are still going into schools if we see something happening and take the discussion. But the thrilling part is that we see in the data that there are direct correlations with the protecting factors or the risk factors as predicted 20 years ago. So if we see something happening, and we always do from time to time, we can plot out, oh, is there now less time spent with parents or fewer kids that are active in extracurricular activities? Or is this something happening with the peer group? So the theory was correct in general terms and very helpful in getting the numbers down. And this could be a much longer talk because, of course, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of scientific articles through the years. But I just wanted to leave you with some thoughts with it, because we use a leisure card, as we call it. It's really a voucher system. And one of the good sides with that is that we know who is doing what in extracurricular activities. We know if some district is lower, and it is, and it's often very connected to economic conditions of the parents, and then we can put in extra push to help them. But overall, the participation is very high in all kinds of things, and we don't give grants to anybody. It's just the extracurricular activities that we have kind of stamped as good and responsible. And these are the activities that children in Reykjavik can use, around 200 available possibilities. So to sum up, to do something like this, you need a long-term view, and you have to stick with it. You have to sometimes be even stubborn. You have to realize that something like prevention and good environment for kids is not a soft issue. It's a very important issue. You have to work with scientists and evidence and collect data. And now we are actually using the same methods to analyze the effects of screen time through phones or iPads, and sleeping patterns and lack of sleep, and how that is affecting especially young girls with increased anxiety and other things. So we hope that we can get out those messages and find better outcomes for those groups, also based on data and evidence. Parents and third sector play a key role in this. And the leisure voucher system that has been picked up in Chile, in Kentucky, US, and some places in Norway and Finland is a model that has worked for us. And I mean, the numbers talk for themselves in every field, and don't think that these numbers are the product of kind of mere politics. No, this is a product of being successful in getting everyone behind this, from the schools to the parents to the sports club to the whole of society, and do that for a long time. And in recent years, the Icelandic model and the Reykjavik model has been tried and used elsewhere, in Vilnius, and more places in Lithuania, Kaunas and Klaipėda, among others, but now it's spreading to other parts of the world. We cannot guarantee that the Icelandic model works, at least not in the same way around the world, but with the evidence-based approach, we think that using it in a systematic way, people will find their ways to get the same or better results as we have had. And I actually think that children, people, families, and life has much more in common around the world and in cities all over the world than we like to think or realize. So that's why this is a thank you to Vilnius for inviting me, and a small example what a little city with some ideas, stubbornness, and long-term view can do for its children and hopefully many others. Thank you so much.